Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at my top 10 teams for the Open Master League here with buffed Pokemon only. So today we're going to take a look at 10 teams around 10 different buffed Pokemon, and I hope you enjoy these videos. This is already the third video for the top teams because we already had one for Ultra League, one for the Great League. There's going to be another one for Great League coming out tomorrow as well, so if you don't want to miss that, stay tuned and feel free to follow, of course, this channel. Would help you out, would help me out, and we can move on to team number 1. There have been a few changes to the Open Master League with this upcoming season, and by far the biggest change is the Metagross. Metagross getting to the Media Mesh after 6 fast moves is now definitely a ginormous change towards it, because this Pokemon all of a sudden is the one that can break kinda Palkia Core, which is kinda nice. It's still not going to be able to win against Palkia directly, but it's going to be alright against it as you resist the Dragon type damage. You only take neutral damage from the water type damage, and you still kinda hit back a bit as well. But basically what Metagross is kinda the safest Pokemon in the Master League, and this is kinda interesting. Like, it's a Pokemon that you would have not really most likely expected here, but Metagross honestly is one of the coolest buffed Pokemon for the Master League. It's gonna change the meta quite significantly, and with that we even have later on a team without any legendary Pokemon that should work out quite well for the Master League right now as well. This team number 1, it is literally the most classic and standard team that you can run with Palkia Core, but Metagross fits right into it as a very good safe stop for this meta, being very nice and neutral, can come in against Pokemon like the Zacian as well, and so yeah, it is going to be quite a solid Pokemon to have for the current meta. As you're gonna move on with Lunala being buffed. Lunala needing now only 8 fast moves and then 7 fast moves for a Moonblast is quite nice. No, actually, for the Shadow Ball, 7 fast moves and then 6. I was like, oh, I looked at the wrong thing. It's going to be quite nice. I was like, that is a little bit too long it takes there. But yeah, 7, 6, nearly 6, 7 fast moves for the Shadow Ball is really good for the Lunala. This is going to allow you to just be even a safer Pokemon basically to run. This is the thing as well. Lunala is really shining bright in the current meta for the Master League, which is kind of funny because it hasn't really had any play previously. But because it is so neutral, because the meta is so based around just basically, I looked at the meta as well. I want to make a video, but just never really found the time. I don't think maybe I need to do it still for the next season as well. But the Master League currently has a problem of having a centerpiece of 4 Pokemon that are basically everywhere, and it's like you see like the odd like other Pokemon or whatever as well, but you have basically 4 Pokemon that have such a high usage set that it's basically those that you're always gonna face, but they have like such a good core together that you cannot break it. Some Pokemon that are very neutral against all of them, like Lunala, are going to be very good. The Pokemon that are super common are Palkia, Zacian, Ho-Oh, and funnily enough, Primarina. And this is going to be, like with Lunala, one of the Pokemon that can kinda deal with all of them kinda at once. But of course, none of them is like a perfect matchup either. But this is going to be a very cool combination as well here together with the Xerneas in the back. Xerneas got buffed with a Geomancy, now doing way more damage with a fast move, which is actually quite impactful for it, because previously it was a lot of times in a position where it wasn't able to farm down a certain Dragon type Pokemon because it just didn't do enough damage. Now you do enough damage, and you're going to be able to have a lot more matchups that you're going to be able to win as a Xerneas. And here we're going to have another buffed Pokemon in the Yveltal. Yveltal actually got a very big significant buff, as Oblivion Wing is now going to allow you to boost your own defense up by 1 stage guaranteed after using it. And this is such a big change for this Pokemon, which makes it so much more interesting. And again, here it's a Pokemon that has some play against nearly everything in the meta. It's a bit awkward against Zacian. You could run Focus Blast on it to have some neutral damaging move against Zacian, but it's also not going to do enough to knock this Pokemon out. If Yveltal gets up one more better coverage move, it's going to be actually the top meta Pokemon, but right now, with Dark Pulse not being the greatest coverage move, it's still going to be very solid. It's still definitely going to be playable, but there are going to be certain Pokemon that are going to be a bit more tougher to deal with. As you guys see though as well, we're going to have Necrozma down Wings as our safe stop. You can use Lunala here, you can use like honestly a lot of different Pokemon. Even you couldn't again the same team as the first team and just have like Yveltal in the lead, and then you can call it a day as well. But yeah, we're going to have Metagross in the back, which can kind of cover up the weakness against the Fairy type. Honestly, like Metagross and of course Zacian is kind of the best to do that, but Metagross can beat Zacian, which the Zacian with energy disadvantage cannot do, of course. Next up, we're going to have here Lunala, again, with Shadow Ball. The first team with Lunala was mainly centered towards Xerneas. This one was centered towards Lunala. Lunala with Shadow Ball here is going to be such a good Pokemon, and here we're going to have it in Elite. And it's just going to be able to have a lot of very nice positive matchups. Then Seizup is going to be our Kyurem White, is going to be able to bait out the Zacian while punishing it with the Fusion Flare. That's kind of the idea behind it. And then in the back we have the Dialga, which is going to be kind of good against everything that you don't want to face as Lunala, but it's not going to be good against the Zacian, so you kind of have to bait it out already prior with the Kyurem White, and that's kind of how this team works. Zacian is the general worst Pokemon to deal with it, but if you face an Elite, you're kind of fine. If you bait it out as well and have a bit of an energy advantage, you're going to be fine. It's not the worst Pokemon ever. It's absolutely not the worst Pokemon ever. You can definitely still deal with it. And yeah, Dialga is actually kind of a Pokemon that got a little bit more usage recently with the recent change to Dragon Breath being a bit different. Yeah, definitely helped out Dialga a bit more to get to its own moves there. Next up, we are going to have here the no legendary team. This is going to be a team without any legendary Pokemon. We have Gholdengo, we're going to have the Dragonite, and we're going to have the Metagross in the back. I actually used Gholdengo as a Seizup here. You could also use Metagross as a Seizup, but I think the Gholdengo would be even cooler for that. Just mainly because Gholdengo is going to be able to pressure a bit faster with the Hex being able to get to the Shadow Ball. Like, you're going to be able to just use Hex to generate more energy. It's just, if you get basically this as a Seizup, you're always going to start off with a bit of a turn advantage, and I think it's just going to be easier to play around with the Gholdengo, as well as I think that Metagross is just a stronger Pokemon out of those two, so keeping it in the back and trying to set up with Gholdengo, maybe being able to bait out something like Ho-Oh here and still hitting it hard with a Shadow Ball would be mostly better than just basically going into the Metagross and then getting a hard vault and then it's calling a day. So I think it's kind of the best way to play it like this. There are some weaknesses for this team. It's a non-legendary team, but honestly, there are not that many weaknesses of this team. Like, absolutely not. Like, you should be even able to beat the Yveltal with your Dragonite there. With Thunder Punch, you should be definitely able to do that. So, like, I do think it's going to be actually a very solid team to run, and I would recommend you to give it a try, especially for the players who don't have a legendary Pokemon. Number 6 is going to be around the Shadow Tyranitar. We're going to have a team here with Necrozma, Duskmane. You can use anything else again. It doesn't need to be Duskmane, but I just want to make a team with Duskmane because I haven't seen this Pokemon in ages, even though I think it's actually a very cool Pokemon. I do think personally, though, that the best moveset for Duskmane is actually Iron Head Outrage. It allows you to hit Zacian and Palkia both with it then. But this is still going to be a very solid Pokemon here. Metagross in the back can cover up the weakness of Tyranitar, and Tyranitar now actually has pressure against all of the Dragon-type Pokemon thanks to Dragon Breath being added onto this Pokemon, making it actually very interesting for the meta. You just need to have 2 good answers against Zacian, and that's why we have 2 Steel-type Pokemon in the back in order to counter this behemoth there. As you can see now, the next team is going to be around Katana, and I'm cheating here a little bit. How am I cheating? I'm going to take a look at the 2-shield scenario here, because otherwise Katana doesn't work out. Katana needs to have the 2-shield scenario, which is here on the left side. The rest kind of needs to be, using 0 shields, I guess, in order to play well. But you have like a lot of hard-hitting damage coming out from your other Pokemon, but Katana is basically able to have a play against all of the meta Pokemon currently outside of Ho-Oh, where you're going to have at least the coverage of Stonage on the Reshiram, which can also resist the Incinerate and the fire damage generally, and then we have the Yveltal in the back, which is just a neutral matchup. Generally speaking, I think this is a very, very solid team. I don't think there's really a big weakness at all for this team. Xerneas could be a bit tricky for the backline, but then again, you have Fusion Flare, which hits hard, and still Oblivion Ring is going to be a neutral hit as well, so that's going to be okay, and that's going to be it for my Katana team. Entering Kyogre, I think there are 2 teams with Kyogre as well. This year was designed to be around Hydreigon. I didn't want to build a team around Kyogre, but Kyogre is the best Pokemon to play with the Hydreigon here. I actually would recommend you to go for Avalanche Thunder with this Kyogre, because it's going to help you out as well against the Primarina matchup and going to surprise some opponents with it. But this is kind of straightforward. It's a bit more of an AB style line Double Dragon. Dialga stays up here trying to bait out, especially like those fairy type Pokemon. Especially something like a Zacian or whatever, because you cannot hit it at all with the Hydreigon, so you need to have a good bait for it, and this is going to be the Dialga for this team. And now Kyogre has access to Avalanche, which is going to be, of course, helping out with other Dragon-type Pokemon still as well. So it's going to be an interesting one here. Of course, Hydreigon getting access to Fly is the new buff towards this Pokemon. It looks honestly very solid in the meta, and we can now move on to the next team. Second to last team, nearly a full no legendary team. You could mostly run the actual Togekiss instead of Kyogre in the back, but this was supposed to be around Kyogre. That is kind of the idea behind it. And we kind of have here the Metagross, Primarina as your face up, and then the Kyogre in the back. Lead is going to be kind of fine against nearly everything. Kyogre is really good against everything that's on the Palkia. So basically, how you play it is, if you're going to face something like a Palkia and a lead, play it out. Play it out. You kind of want to play out the lead there, because you kind of need to have alignment. But funnily enough, while they're both water-type Pokemon, Primarina and the Kyogre, they're kind of covering each other's weaknesses quite well, which is kind of funny. So, because one is mainly relying on Charm and Fairy-type damage, the other one is more relying on Water-type damage. They're actually very good at covering each other's weaknesses. And so, yeah, basically, you kind of want to play out the lead Roger with your Metagross and then try to align yourself correctly in order to win the battle then late game with your other Pokemon that you still have, in order to try to maybe align your Primarina against something like the Palkia from the opponent. Next up, team number 10. We're going to have Xerneas, we're going to have Reshiram, we're going to have the Giratina. This is going to be a fantastic team as well. Again, this was actually built more towards the Xerneas as well, but also towards the Giratina, because Giratina got access to, has access to Shadow Ball, and with that, it's going to be buffed as well. Yeah, I need to have 10 different Pokemon. Giratina is like the last one of those. It's a Pokemon that got a bit of a buff. It's a Pokemon that definitely has a bit of play. I could see a pure Ghost-type moveset being better than Dragon Tail. That's something I have to say here. I do think the pure Ghost-type moveset might be a bit better. I think it allows you to just have better matchups around the board there. And then you could even go for, instead of Ominous Wind, I don't know if you really need to have Ominous Wind there anymore. I would go ahead and maybe rather go for the Dragon Pulse in order to hit Dragon-type Pokemon for some super effective damage. And this is more on how I would play Giratina personally. But otherwise, here Xerneas in the lead, going to be weak to Ho-Oh, good against everything else. We have the Save-Up of Reshiram, which is going to be, yeah, good against Ho-Oh and good against also something like a Zacian. And then Giratina in the back actually kind of needs to have Shadow Claw. Give it Shadow Claw, please. It's a better moveset to go for. And that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. 10 teams for the Master League. Again, if you want to see the teams for the other leagues, link's going to be now at the end card, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.